and maybe I should show you guys right now. Here's the Edge Finder, which is just officially released. We've got a video coming out later on it today, so stay tuned if you've been wondering about this, if you've seen this thing. If you've never seen this thing, whoo, man, this is the place to be.
Oh my.
How's it going, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Top Buy, Top Sell here in the A1 Edge Finder, where of course we are going over our number one buy and our number one sell of the day. But before we get into that, check this out. Look at this. Do you see this right here? Platinum, silver, copper, even, and that's not all, the Russell. We have added 4 new assets to the Edge Finder. We had gold in the Edge Finder before, but we never had platinum, silver, or copper, and we had a lot of indices, but we have also added the Russell. So 4 brand new assets added to the Edge Finder. Today is the very first day that they are officially live in the Edge Finder, so we are very excited about that. And copper, silver, and platinum giving some bullish readings here in the Edge Finder today, their first day in the Edge Finder. So very, very cool to see. But before we actually do get into our top buy and top sell, we always look at 2 things, and that is COT data and retail sentiment. So let's check out COT data really quickly. Now, COT data does typically come out on Fridays. However, that new report is not out yet. We do not have the latest COT report data. They have not released it, but that's okay. We're still going to go over what institutional traders are buying and selling right now because it is still useful information. Over here, our most shorted assets from institutional traders are the Australian dollar and the Japanese yen, both sitting at the high 70s, 79.89% short here and 78.24% short there, whereas gold and oil are our 2 most long assets. We have 79.15% long for gold and 81.1% for oil. We can also see silver in here now, platinum, copper, and the Russell. Again, very exciting to see all of that stuff. The pound is the most long currency at 64.16%. In fact, as far as our scoring goes, that is the only currency getting an actual score, being up above 60%. The dollar, on the other hand, is getting is 50-50. It's very neutral right now. 48.08% long and 51.92% short. Taking a look down here at our latest weekly COT filing, this is the report that compares last week's data to the most up-to-date and current data. And we can see here that our biggest mover to the upside from last week to this week was the S&P 500, not because they added a whole bunch of long contracts. In fact, if anything, all the contracts on the S&P are getting closed off, but because they closed nearly 100,000 short contracts. I'm gonna say that again. Nearly 100,000 short contracts closed on the S&P 500 compared to the 5,327 long contracts that were closed. Almost 100,000 short contracts closed. I mean, that is absolutely ridiculous. If we scroll down just a little bit, we can see that the US 30 is the most negative recent change asset, with 130 long contracts overall being closed and 3,287 short contracts being opened. Let's take a look at retail positioning really quickly. Take a look at major currency pairs first. It looks like the euro, New Zealand dollar, pound, and Aussie dollar pairs are all getting bearish readings, up above 60% on the retail side, whereas USD CAD is our one lone bullish reading, 77% short there from day traders. Let's take a look at minor currency pairs now. We can see a nice little list of bearish biases as well as bullish biases here on our minor currency pairs. Remember that whatever the crowd is doing, whatever day traders are doing, we tend to want to do the opposite, because as unfortunate as it is, more often than not, day traders are wrong and lose money. So when the crowd is favored 84% long on NZD CHF, that is a negative sign. Same thing here, when the crowd is short 71% on CAD yen, that again is a not a good sign to be shorting CAD yen at the moment. Take a look at our metals now, our brand new metals market thing here. We have platinum, iron, copper, and silver all heavily long from day traders, so that means that it gets a bearish signal. Gold, all by itself down there at the bottom with a neutral bias. We'll finish up with our indices. Russell and NAS getting bearish biases, S&P 500 and UK 100 getting bullish biases. Now, I should say, that's not to say that 100% of the time day traders get this wrong. It's just more often than not. I know that silver is a commodity right now that has been trading very well as of recently. It's been moving higher in the markets. It has not looked very bearish, but the Edge Finder accumulates all of these different metrics here to give an overall bias, not just one thing. You can't just go off of one thing. You can't just go off of COT data, or just go off of seasonality, or just go off of trend reading, or even the fundamental data. It all has to come together for an overall score. That is the easiest way to get the quickest or the most amount of information possible when you combine all of these different things together for an overall output. Speaking of output, let's remove our neutral biases just so that we're left with our full list of bullish, bearish, very bullish, and very bearish biases. And it looks like oil is our top score of the day with a plus 11, and NZD USD is our one very bearish bias with a score of -9. So we'll check out oil and we'll check out NZD USD, and let's go ahead and start off with oil. So here we are in the oil breakdown page. This is what our new breakdown pages look like. We can see that oil has a very bullish bias, score of plus 11. COT data is a score of plus 3, and retail sentiment is a 0 or neutral score. Overall, oil is one of those two assets. It was oil and gold that were the most long from institutional traders. In fact, I believe oil was the most long from institutional traders, 81.1% long there. Retail traders kind of 50-50, however, 54% long, 46% short. That makes sense why we're getting that 0 or neutral bias there. Seasonality is a score of plus 1. We don't have the seasonality in here right now for oil, not the bar chart at least, but we do still have the data in the back end of the algorithm, and it is a positive score. Trend reading is a score of plus 2, and we can take a better look at the price chart by taking a look at price forecast here. This is actually a daily chart with a built-in algorithm that uses all of the data and trends over the past couple of days to predict where price could be heading in the future. And we're going to take a look at oil here, and there we go. So yeah, we can see that oil has pretty much been in an uptrend ever since March 27th. It kind of topped out at April 5th, gave back a little bit of those gains, and then has been bouncing around ever since then. But from yesterday to today is up on the day. Price forecast also predicts that it will continue to move in an upward direction. Finish up with our fundamental data. We have a lot of it here. GDP is a plus 1 score, so is manufacturing PMI, retail sales, employment change, and an unemployment rate, whereas interest rates and services PMI are -1 scores. We have all of that data over here. This is all US dollar data because we're looking at US oil. So we're taking a look at the US government numbers. So these are all US fundamental numbers. GDP currently 3.4%, ISM PMI 50.3, this manufacturing PMI, ISM services PMI 51.7, retail sales 0.6, CPI inflation 3.5%. Core CPI 0.4%, and interest rates 4.93%. We also have jobs data here. NFP came out at 303,000, and the unemployment rate is 3.8%. So there we go. There's all the data and numbers backing up that very bullish bias, plus 11 score on oil. Let's go ahead and jump right into our next pair. We're going to take a look at NZD USD. With that -9 score. Very bearish bias, -9 score here. COT is a score of +1, and retail sentiment a score of -1. Let's take a look at those COT numbers right down here. So we have the New Zealand dollar is 41.99% long, 58.01% short, and the US dollar 48.08% long, 51.92% short. So neither of them have crossed over that 60% threshold. That's that magic number that we need to get a score out of COT data. So these are both coming in as neutral. Now you may be asking yourself, why does it have a +1 score? Well, that would be because the New Zealand dollar recent change is positive and the US recent change has been negative. And we're looking at NZD USD. So we see positive for our front currency, we see negative for our secondary currency. That overall would give you a +1 score on COT data because recent change is positive for New Zealand and negative for US dollar. Seasonality is a score of -1, and we can see right down here in the month of April that historically speaking over the last 10 years, typically speaking, NZD USD tends to trade lower in the month of April. Our trend rating is a score of -1, and let's go ahead and jump back on into price forecast so we can get a look at the daily chart and see how it has been trending. And while it hasn't had a lot of movement, kind of just ranging up and down in this range here for a few weeks at this point. Recently, though, it has had a sharp drop, and we can tell by the price forecast prediction that even though it is very small, it is slightly favored in a downward direction. We'll finish up with our fundamental data. Inflation is a -2 score, so is GDP, manufacturing PMI, retail sales, and unemployment rate. Whereas interest rates and services PMI, we have a +1 and +2 score. Employment change is neutral. Take a look at these numbers right down here. We just went over all these US numbers, but I'll go over them one more time. New Zealand GDP growth -0.1% compared to 3.4% in the US. Manufacturing PMI -10.5 compared to 2.5 in the US. Retail sales in New Zealand -0.9 compared to 0.4 in the US. Inflation 4.7 compared to 3.5. Unemployment 4 compared to 3.8. And lastly, interest rates on the New Zealand dollar and the US dollar are both 5.5%. So there we go, all the data and numbers backing up that very bearish -9 score on NZD USD. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you want the Edge Finder for yourself, don't forget that this is our anniversary sale month, and the Edge Finder right now is 40% off. It is the best discount on the Edge Finder that you'll find all year, so don't wait. If this is something that you have been interested in for a while, go down in the links down in the description below or on our website, a1trading.com, and get you the Edge Finder for 40% off, limited time only, 40% off, promo code A1YT. Did you know we do a live trading show Monday through Friday with guests from all over the world? To get notified when we go live, click the bell button next to the subscribe button or check in at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have helpful, free content in the description below and on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching today's video, and we'll see you tomorrow.